Nothing there. I don't hear anything.
Sorry about that. My mic wasn't on. Hey, I'm Larry Steinhouse, and welcome to Money Chat Now. Money Chat Now is a politically charged stock market pre-show giving you the politics behind the biggest moves in the stock market. It is presented with comedic common sense by an expert in financial literacy, and hey, that's me, Larry Steinhouse. Today is Tuesday, March 8th. I want to welcome you to the show, and we are here live on WWDB Radio 860 AM in Philadelphia, and we are live on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. YouTube deleted more of my content the other day when I made fun of Joe Biden in his State of the Union address. So if you're listening on YouTube, just go to Facebook. I can't believe Facebook isn't deleting my stuff. I thought they were worse, but YouTube is definitely worse. Anyway, you can find me on Facebook, TikTok, and other social media, including Truth Social, by searching for Larry Steinhouse. Hey, just a reminder, if you're watching online, hit that like button, hit that share button, and yeah, maybe you want to subscribe to the YouTube channel, but I don't really care anymore. But definitely you want to like the Money Chat Now page on Facebook, and you can comment live during the show on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter. And please say hi so I know you're here. Hey, I want to say good morning to Joe and Mick who are watching. Thanks so much. I totally appreciate you guys. By the way, if you're commenting from a group and not the Money Chat Now fan page on Facebook, your name may not show up on my dashboard, so please go to the Money Chat Now page and comment there so I can recognize you. Money Chat Now is brought to you by Investor Schooling, and you can attend a complimentary class this Thursday by going to investorschooling.com. All right, there you will learn about real estate investing and stock options trading from those who do it every day. On today's show, we will be discussing, of course, the futures update. We'll be discussing oil ideas. We will be discussing airline shipping costs, where U.S. oil comes from, and the future of nuclear power. You can tell this is going to be a high-powered episode today. High-powered, guess it? Yeah, whatever. All right. Let's talk about the futures and anything that's going on. Hey, by the way, you guys out there, you know, I see Jill out there and Jeff out there and Mick and Joe. You guys have $50 to lend me? I kind of need to fill my tank, and over the last few days in the market, I'm kind of fresh out of funds. The market again tortured me yesterday as all my stocks started out slightly in the green, and then 15 minutes later, the slide started, and wow, the travel stocks just killed me. I'm so annoyed at this result. I was convinced they were to play, and frankly, they would have been if it wasn't for the idiot in the White House. You know, would you make us energy self-sufficient again, you dullard? The cost of oil per barrel is scaring Wall Street into dumping all the travel stocks as their costs continue to increase. And I'm going to get into this more in a couple of minutes, I should say. The mask mandates are ending next week, so travelers would want to travel. However, the cost of flying people is now going to increase. The airlines just need to raise their prices, and of course they will. I remember when Netflix raised their prices for the first time. Remember this? When they went from $8.95 to $12.95, and everyone thought the subscribers would run? Well, not only did they not run, but then they raised it time after time, a few more times, and no one even mentioned it. Now I think Netflix is $21.95. You know, that's what basically the airlines and cruise companies will do, and no one will care either. The other problem is the war is also scaring investors into thinking the economy will slow down because of the war. Well, if you guys keep saying it, you're going to be creating it. Stop it. Just stop it. Everyone will fly again. Everyone will travel again. It'll just cost more like everything else. You know, my rent's going up. My houses are going up. But I seriously can't believe that American Airlines is below $13 a share. That's insane. It was down to $10 a share during the pandemic when no one was flying, and now more people are flying. This has to be a great play, but I don't know. Meta is also dropping, and it's below 190. Twitter, however, hung in there as it only dropped a little bit, about 50 cents. Even the oil company stocks started to stall. Halliburton was up, but Occidental Petroleum was down. Well, when the market tanks as much as it did yesterday, we normally see a dead cat bounce, and that's possibly what we're getting right now. Right now, the futures are, the Dow is up 190, the S&P is up 28, and the NASDAQ are up about 70. I kind of hope that maybe we should see a 500 or 600 point up day. That would be great, but I don't know. All right, I want to say hello real quick to, looks like Michael out there too. Hey, Michael, thanks for watching. And I see somebody else saying good morning. I don't know who your name is. If you go to the Money Chat Now page, from there I'll see who you are. All right, let's talk about let's talk about the oil, right? So the whole country is telling the idiot in charge to allow oil companies in the United States to produce more oil. But the green people, right? The people who believe cow farts are killing the ozone layer, so they're feeding the cows a different diet so they fart less. Oh yes, you didn't hear about that? I swear, looked it up. They are actually feeding cows a different diet of different grasses to alter the cows so they fart less, so we'll have less methane. These are the people who are in charge of whether we should drill for oil or not. Yep, it is. I'm serious. Look it up. Well, anyway, the rest of the people, the normal people like you and I, want the government to start doing everything they can to stop our dependency on foreign oil. Think about it. When we sanction Russia and stop buying oil from them, we then have to go to other crooks or terrorists from around the world to make up for the difference. Basically, we're going to go from one terrorist to another, and that's our oil supply. Well, some people are speaking out and suggesting that we subsidize frackers in the United States and consider a minimum pump price. Michael Harris, a strategist from oil company EFT, suggested the following. We need a government policy response that's effectively going to address this. And this is where I feel really, really strongly that the U.S. needs to step up and say we're going to do something which seems very, very outrageous, and we're going to subsidize frackers. This guy actually wants us to build up the supply of oil from the inside the United States. What a great idea. How irresponsible of him, however. We should be the last country to farm oil under our land. How are we going to keep the land free of these dirty oil companies? Wouldn't it just be better if we had the oil shipped from a boat from another country? Pay more and risk that boat might leak oil into the ocean? Well, that's the problem, isn't it? Instead of realizing we have natural resources here in America, the Democrats would rather let another country drill and dig for it there, ship it to us, and having a possibility of a major disaster in the ocean, and we'll also pay more for the cost of all that instead of finding oil here in our land. Ukraine's President Zelensky calls the oil company we get from Russia blood oil. And yeah, it's true. The money we pay now over $120, almost $130 a barrel, goes to fund the war killing his people. If you're listening to this program, make sure you hold up your ULM signs and splash blood on them to show your support for the killing of innocent Ukrainians. Oh, what does ULM stand for? Ukrainian Lives Matter, of course. All right. Hey, Joe, I want to say hello to you out there watching online. I appreciate it. And if you guys are enjoying this, please let me know. All right, let's talk about airline costs. As you know, this war has oil prices skyrocketing. Have you seen the price of oil at the pump yet? I filled my truck up last night with premium gas, and yikes, it was almost $120 to fill it, and it wasn't even quite empty yet. Well, of course, the cost of anything using fuel, such as driving or flying, is going up because, the airline, and because of this, the airline industry is taking a big hit, right? I've seen American Airlines stock, which I had a lot of, go down about 35% in the past week, and Wall Street is panicking over the price of fuel. The cost of shipping anything via air travel has the same problem. The planes are being filled with fuel that's about 50% higher cost than it was just a month ago. And that means, of course, that the cost of shipping is going up and up. Most shippers and airlines have not adjusted their prices completely yet, and they're absorbing that cost. It's obvious that the price of fuel stays high. If the price of fuel stays high, the industry will raise their prices to make up for the higher cost. They will basically have no choice, right? So the other problem is shippers are facing is basically that there's closed airspace over Russia, and many of the international shippers now need to bypass Russia, causing the aircraft to take longer time to reach their destination. And of course, this too costs more time and more fuel. Here's something interesting about the shipping crisis caused by the closed airspace and the higher fuel costs. The shippers, by the way, are usually slow this time of year, and during the first half of the scamdemic, the first year, the prices has actually dropped. And as we exited the scamdemic, freight companies had already started to raise prices, and many now are attaching temporary surcharges to shipping to cover costs. So for many of them, they're not losing money. They're actually ahead. Now, if American Airlines would just stop dropping, I can get some of my money back. Damn, I actually bought a 13 strike price call yesterday and paid $2.50 for it for June. That could be a great play, or it's going to make me broke. I don't know which. All right. Let's take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to talk about where most of the oil comes from. You're going to find this interesting. It's not what you think, or it is what you think. You let me know. We'll see you in a minute.
Investor schooling. Those guys are everywhere.
Investor schooling? Those guys are everywhere.
Investor schooling?
Those guys are everywhere.
Investor Schooling. Those guys are everywhere. Register for a free class at investorschooling.com.
All right, welcome back to Money Chat Now. I'm your host, Larry Steinhouse, and if you'd like more information on investor schooling, you can go to investorschooling.com or call 866-424-2829, 866-424-2829. Hey, I want to thank all my listeners on WWDB Radio 860 in Philadelphia, and if you're watching online, please hit that share button so you can help your friends learn how to make more money. Hit that like button, let me know you enjoy the show, and you can also leave comments on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube, and I will try to respond to them live. I just have to go. Tommy left a comment which I think is pretty funny. It's actually been going around the internet for a while. He leaves, pretty excited. Our loan was approved. We're closing on a full tank of gas at the end of the weekend. That's pretty funny. I like that. That's such a great statement. All right. So far we've been testing, of course, the futures update. Right now the Dow is up 146. The S&P is up 21 and the NASDAQ is up 41. I really hope it moves up today. I'm getting kind of nervous. We talked about the fact that maybe we should start fracking and drilling oil here. And we talked about, of course, airline shipping costs and the fact that everything is costing more money because of the fuel. It makes sense, right? Coming up, we have where U.S. oil comes from, and we also have the future of nuclear power. So today is a very powerful day on Money Chat Now. And then, of course, later on we have today's picks and plays. But first, did you hit that like button yet? Did you guys hit that share button? Come on, Tommy, I quoted you. You got to hit that share button now. Don't forget to leave comments on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitter. And if you listen on WWDB Radio, be sure and set a preset to this station and listen every day at 7:30. Also, look up Money Chat Now on Facebook when you get home, and let me know what you think of the show. Hey, real quick, I want to say hello to Lou. Thanks so much for watching. All right. Hey, by the way, real quick, I want to talk about this. I've been telling you guys about a great event we're going to be having at the Washington Crossing Inn in Bucks County. And it's basically called a Finances and Freedom event. And along with myself, we have the outspoken Bill Spadia as a keynote speaker. But listen to this. We just added, and I've been trying to get this guy for a while, we just added to the itinerary a man that all would respect. We've added Doug Mastriano as another keynote speaker. That's right, Doug Mastriano will be speaking, and Doug's story will mesmerize you as a leading contender in the governor's race for Pennsylvania. Listen, you got to go to this event. You want to shake his hand. You want to wish him luck. And if you want to attend the event, go to number 4mmw.com, 4mmw.com, and register for this event before the price increases, 4mmw.com to register. And I'm telling you, it's going to sell out fast. Go there, 4mmw.com. All right, let's talk about U.S. oil and where it comes from. So if our problem is all about the price of oil because we are shunning Russia, does that mean if we cut off Russian oil, we will run out? Or, as Putin claimed this morning, does it mean oil will be $300 a barrel shortly? Well, let's talk about where our oil actually comes from. And according to a Wall Street Journal report, the U.S. consumes, far more oil than companies extract domestically. So basically it requires oil to be imported on some supplies. But it's less reliant on Russian oil than Europe, and it takes only a small portion of its imported crude from Russia. So check this out. America gets most of its crude oil from Canada, Mexico, and Saudi Arabia. Smaller countries in Latin America and West Africa also typically send more crude oil to the U.S. than Russia does. In fact, over 51% of our oil comes from Canada. We better be nice to those guys. They're right on our border. Yes, that's the pipeline that Biden decided not to build or canceled, and so it's going to take longer for that oil to get here, and the cost will increase. However, we will still have oil coming from other countries, and Russia currently only supplies 7.9% of the oil we use to heat our homes and drive our cars. So if Russia only imports 7.9%, why is Russia so important? Now, this gets interesting, and it's all about updating our refineries. It turns out that the oil in Russia has more sulfur than the oil found elsewhere. The older, non-updated refineries were built for refining oil with higher sulfur content. These were built because the United States wasn't as active in drilling for oil as the other countries with higher sulfur content. So basically, many, many years ago, we only got oil. I mean, we shouldn't say only, but we got most of our oil elsewhere, and then we built refineries for that oil. We certainly can rebuild these refineries, but it's certainly not going to happen in a few months. So the hindsight may help the future, but right now we have to look for oil high in sulfates in other places like Venezuela and Iran. But we have sanctions placed on those countries for quite a few decades now. Iran has a specific sanction stating that they cannot build nuclear power plants, but now Biden is negotiating the very deal that his former boss Obama made to prevent the Iranians from building nukes for a deal to get more oil from Iran. Ugh, what a twisted web we weave. Unbelievable. The other problem is more and more regulations from the past, such as the Jones Act, and basically this was a law that was passed a century ago, has effectively limited the size of vessels that are allowed to transport goods between U.S. ports. So that has left oil buyers on the West Coast and East Coast effectively unable to get supplies shipped out of the Gulf Coast. So this makes the shipment of oil limited to smaller vessels, so of course it takes more time and more money to ship it to us. So instead of having one big boat, we have 3 smaller boats, right? And this is where the idea of pipelines was started, and that's why we pipeline oil from other places, like Canada. Now, getting back to Russia oil, roughly half the oil that the United States imports from Russia goes to the West Coast, where refiners take crude deliveries from overseas largely because they aren't connected by pipelines to the Permian Basin, the largest U.S. oil field. So basically, think about that. The West Coast, once again, is controlling, through regulation and green and these Democrats, it's controlling what's happening right now. So West Coast refineries take Russian crude that's shipped out of port of Kosmino in the country's eastern side of the Pacific Ocean. Well, here's a 50-foot view. That's basically a 50-foot view of the oil problem. It's all about regulations and government overreach once again. So what will happen? My prediction is the war will end soon with Russia, and Russia will own Ukraine. It's very sad, but it's what's going to happen, and the world will slowly forget the atrocities, just like they did with Crimea. Then the oil will not be threatened any longer, and of course our country will do nothing to prepare for the next time this happens, so it will happen again. Sorry, green people, your electric doesn't solve this problem. We still need oil for at least the next 20 years at the same rate we have it now. We do not have electric planes, semi-trucks, or boats as of yet. We still need to make sure that as a country we have a steady supply of oil, and when we can get it faster and easier with the pipelines and less government regulations. So when people say it's Biden's fault we have higher gas prices, they are correct. However, they are only partially correct, because most of the problems are from guys using too much government overreach in the past, and that's what we need to do. We need to stop this government overreach and start allowing people to drill for oil in the United States. All right, let's talk about nuclear power. Now that we understand all the problems of oil power, we need solutions. Of course, there is wind, there is solar, and there is water-powered sources, but none of these are efficient enough to replace what we need now in the United States. And of course, now nuclear power is another answer. Nuclear power is actually a very clean, efficient, and mostly safe way to get the power we need to change all of our future green energy electric vehicles. So if we want to charge our vehicles, we can charge them with nuclear power, and it's actually pretty safe, right? By the way, I happen to be a fan of electric vehicles. All right, I'm just not sure that they're practical enough yet for all uses. Can we get the distance we need to go places, and will we have enough chargers to charge them, all in time for the rush of electric vehicles expected and the demand by the Biden administration? Remember, a lot of these companies are not even going to be making gas-powered vehicles by the end of this decade, which means that we're going to have all electric vehicles. Anyway, getting back to nuclear, we know about the Chernobyl disaster in 1986, and this was when one of the reactors exploded and caused radiation to leak into the atmosphere. A few things about the Chernobyl disaster that you may not know. First of all, it was I shouldn't say this, but it's only about 35 people who died in the initial blast. I looked to find information on how many people died in the radiation poisoning, and I got to tell you, the information is spotty. I don't know if it's because it's censored by Russia. I don't know if it's because it's censored by Google, because Google censors everything now. But you really can't find how many people actually died. I did find an article that said there was an increase in thyroid cancer in children in the area, and the animals tested in Chernobyl didn't have much genetic defects. Basically, in other words, there are no three-eyed fish and no two-headed cows were reported. In fact, even Hiroshima has been inhabited for decades. So, look, before you think I'm saying that a nuclear disaster isn't all that bad, it will be really bad for the surrounding people for many years. Chernobyl had caused the relocation of 350,000 people to keep them out of the area, and basically, so where's the story going, right? So for the first time in history, we had an invading army target, or at least appear to target, a nuclear power plant. This was last week as the Russians bombed the largest plant in Europe in an attempt to gain control over it. Now, this has regulators and planners on edge how to proceed in the future with nuclear power plants. The idea of building more plants is on the mind of both Democrats and Republicans, and apparently no one had thought about the dangers of an enemy pulling a 9/11 type maneuver on a nuclear power plant. So this is like all governmental conundrums will be discussed and delay the building of plants for years to come. But of course, we'll be allowing Iran to build their plant in exchange for oil, and they won't lose one night's sleep over this conundrum as they built their arsenals and power plants. Ugh. All right, I'll let you guys think about this topic and think about its ramifications, and we'll be back in a minute.
Okay, so you've thought about investing in real estate, houses, apartment buildings, properties, but don't really know where to start? Well, what if you could very easily learn how to gain strategies to use other people's money to buy and sell houses in the Philadelphia area? If you could learn and network with successful area real estate investors and how to produce monthly income on rental properties without headaches, that place is Investor Schooling. With Investor Schooling, you'll learn from two Philadelphia area rockstar real estate investors, Phil Falcone and Larry Steinhouse, about how to buy and sell properties the easy way and teach you basic and advanced techniques to help you make money in real estate. You can attend Investor Schooling in person or online visual classes 8 times a month. You can and will learn how to make money in real estate. Call for free information and get a complimentary pass to one of these classes. But don't delay, as these complimentary passes are limited. Call the number on your screen now or visit investorschooling.com. investorschooling.com.
And if you'd like more information on Investor Schooling, you can go to investorschooling.com or call 866-424-2829, 866-424-2829. Hey, don't forget about the event that I talked about. Go to 4mmw.com, 4mmw.com. You can meet Senator Mastriano, who will be running for governor, and I believe he's going to win. And that will be an awesome thing. You'll get to meet him. You'll get to hear his story. His story is phenomenal. You know, the guy is like, really, he's like Superman. Captain America. I think that's a better play. He's like Captain America. So go to 4mmw.com and take a look at that, and you'll actually get to meet him. We'll be doing that on April 24th. Okay, so far, of course, we've been discussing the futures update, and right now, the futures are up 92, the S&P is up 12, and the NASDAQ is up 11, so it's not as good as it was a little while ago. We talked about oil, we talked about nuclear power, and we talked about where oil comes from, which I think is important that you should know where it comes from, and it's not as bad as you think. Only 7.9% of our oil comes from Russia, but it's the kind of oil that we kind of need. I don't know. Figure it out. Anyway, coming up is today's picks and plays, but first of all, did you guys hit that share button? Did you hit that like button yet? Let everyone know what great stock plays are coming by, of course, sharing this information. You can share it in your page or groups that you feel will benefit from great stock plays. And you can also leave comments on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube if we're still there. I don't even know if we're there anymore. And if you listen on WWDB Radio, set one of your presets to this channel and listen every day at 7:30. And you'll find out all you need to know about the politics behind the stock market. All right, let's talk about what's going on. I gotta tell you, I'm ready to jump off a bridge at this point. I can't believe this market. It has no rhyme or reason. The fundamentals of the market, like profits, earnings, and future outlook and guidance, are all washed away. Nobody's even paying attention to them. They're buying stuff with low earnings, they're buying stuff with no earnings, and then they're selling the stuff that has good earnings. I don't know. It was clear that some of the holders of stocks yesterday hit their stop loss orders and made those stock plummet. Will we see a rebound, and will it be soon? The answer to the first part is yes. We will definitely see a rebound. It's coming. The question is going to be where? And it'll probably come on the news of a ceasefire, a real ceasefire, or possibly the war actually ending. The fact that this war continues surprises me and many people, and also surprises many people around the world too, right? There are many plays out there right now, and the question is whether to wait or to buy. I got impatient, and now I'm in some place that I hope I don't regret. I will say that, I will tell you to buy the airline stocks, but if you listened to me 2 weeks ago, you're probably pretty pissed at me right now. In fact, most of the suggestions coming from me and other pundits the last 2 weeks have been all wrong. Oil was the play, but is it still? I don't know. It may be time to pick anything that's protected from war. Domestic stocks with good track records may be the play. I'll look for someone over the week. I don't know. Right now, the Dow is actually falling. Now it's still up 58. The S&P is up 5, and the NASDAQ is down now. All right. I don't even know where we're going with this. It's getting bad again. I'm just not going to look today. So crypto is actually moving up again, but not moving anything exciting. Gold and silver are pushing forward, and gold is above 2,000 again. I think gold and silver rush is here. It'll be great plays in the future, and gold and silver ETFs might be the play. So take a look at GLD or SLV. They may be the play. The Treasury bond is roughly 1.85%. I also expect that to increase, and the Fed will be raising interest rates this month, so be aware of that. Hey, I want to thank all you listeners on WWDB Radio, 860 AM in Philadelphia. I want to thank you for your continued support. And, of course, if you're enjoying the show, please reach out and let us know. You can leave comments on Facebook and let us know. My name is Larry Steinhouse. I'm the host of Money Chat Now, and I'm also the CEO of Investor Schooling. And for you guys who haven't pre-ordered my book, go to barnesandnoble.com, look up Money Hacks by Larry Steinhouse, and I promise you, you will like this book. You can pre-order it right now. It's available for pre-order, and you will definitely enjoy it. Of course, from time to time, I own some of the assets and options discussed in this show, and the opinions discussed in this show are solely mine, and no one has asked me to discuss them. I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. Have a profitable day.